true. Sometimes funny, sometimes it's sick.
Greetings and welcome to the Department of Tangents podcast, a conversation with comedian Julie Goldman with new music from Tyler Childers. This is yet another episode springing from the 2018 Women in Comedy Festival here in Boston. It had been a very long time since I'd gotten the chance to catch up with Goldman, so long that neither of us could remember exactly when we'd first met or talked. I interviewed her for the Boston Globe to preview the festival, and the conversation went so many different directions, I wanted to follow up and make sure I got her on the podcast. I saw a lot of great sets at the festival, but Goldman's might have been the best. She absolutely destroyed the room at the NBC Showcase show, so much so that I was worried for the people who had to follow her. It's curious then, given her ability to destroy a room, that she says she has trouble getting booked in clubs and at festivals, unless it's an LGBTQIA-related event. If it was just about what you do in that room, Goldman would be able to get booked anywhere, so we got into that a little bit early on. Goldman also has a podcast called Dumb Gay Politics with her co-host Brandy Howard, and I caught up with her a few days before she had former White House Director of Communication Anthony Scaramucci on the show. She tells a story about how they met and how he came to be on the show. You can check out that episode titled The Mooch is a Mensch by going to www.acast.com/dumbgaypolitics. You will also learn in this episode how Mel Brooks and Carl Reiner are humanity's last best hope, and Goldman and I both urge you to check out Brooks's vastly underrated film, History of the World Part 1. And our featured track this week, after the conversation, is Tyler Childers' song Feathered Indians. Stick around for that, and now, here's Julie Goldman. So, I saw you at the Women in Comedy Festival on the NBC Showcase show. And you absolutely crushed at that. That was such a great showcase. I felt everybody did well on that show, but you absolutely crushed that room. Is that the goal in something like that?
Nice. Thank you. I agree with you, though. I thought that, for whatever reason, whatever the energy, whatever the exchange was with everyone, it was really a fun, good night for everyone. I mean, everyone did great. The audience was great. And normally I found in showcases like that, especially when it's filled with industry, it's those are tough. Those are tough. Because those people have seen it, you know what I mean? It's they're a hard audience, I find, but I don't know. There was something about that night that was super, super, super fun.
Well, I remember thinking, as you were finishing up, because you built to kind of a crescendo at the end of that I don't know how somebody's going to come in and follow you after that. But then there were three more comics, I believe, after you, and everyone did really well after that as well.
Yeah. Yeah, the audience just was game for everything, and I guess was feeling it just didn't feel competitive. It didn't feel, I think, is maybe what it is, and that's on every comedy show. So, yeah, everybody did great. I had a good time though. I had a very good time.
Oh.
I haven't done what was that, 7 minutes or something? I don't generally do that. I don't have to do that anymore. So it's hard to do because I don't know what to do ever. So I kind of I couldn't even tell you what I can't remember what I talked. I don't even remember what I did because it was such a shot. I just wasn't sure what to do. It was like a shot out of a gun. I didn't know what to do. So.
Well, is that the goal when you go on stage, to sort of destroy a room? Is that the ideal set?
Yes, it is. I want that. I do. That is the only thing that will make me feel satisfied, and even then I'm never happy. So, yes, I want that for the room. I want that for all of us. I want that for... I think that's what you can't always have that necessarily, but that is the goal, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Feeling that... Because how good does the audience feel, They just feel so good. And I feel good.
Is it hard to maintain that for a 50 to 60 minute set, that sort of level of energy to engage everyone?
I think, I mean, I think that it's important for an hour show or a 45-minute show to have, to definitely have highs and lows, but low not meaning low in the sense that it's not funny or fun, but an energy low or people, you don't want that kind of, people would be too tired and to have that kind of like feeling throughout the entire thing. So I think, it's good to have, you want people to be laughing and having fun the whole time, but I think like you want it to be come in waves or, for there to be like highs and lows kind of like.
Now, is there a circuit that's your bread and butter right now? What kind of rooms are you playing these days?
Oh, yeah, no, my bread and butter are the gays, for sure. 100%. I can't seem to, break out of that sort of like, and I'm not complaining or I don't know how else to say it, but yeah, I mean, prides and gay events and gay travel companies and gay / or mixed audiences, but like the organization is generally gay or women, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
But like getting into just like Montreal Comedy Festival or some mainstream festival or just a comedy club, doing just a a weekend is still challenging for me. And no matter what I do, I can't. You know what I mean? I don't know what really know what more I can possibly do to prove like I'm a normal comedian or quote unquote regular. Like it's funny. It's interesting.
Well, do people think that you're talking about being gay won't play for a straight audience?
I guess so, even though it seems so regular now. You know what I mean? Like, who can I've been saying, for certainly in gay audiences, like, unless you're trans or something else, you're just normal now. Regular. You better transition if you want to be something exciting, because, like, just being a woman or being a gay person, boring, lame. Like, that's just regular now. So I don't, and I have played, of course, regular comedy clubs, but it's sporadic, and I have never had a problem ever. I think people like it, and I think people, if you're funny, they'll be with you no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that. I mean, obviously, there's some places where it's just not going to play, and that's okay. I don't have a desire to please everybody, but the people that would like me will be pleased, and they don't necessarily have to be gay. I think it's like, I think we've all established that we can all enjoy someone's thing. I love Sebastian Maniscalco, but I'm not a straight Italian guy, but I love him. I think he's hilarious, like, because he's funny, It's just like, I don't know.
If you're doing a headlining set, how much of that has to do with your being gay? How much of the material is about that?
It's like if you were to ask even, let's say, I think anyone who talks about their personal life in any capacity, how much of their act is about their personal life.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I come out, I am what I am, I look gay, so I want to address it, I want to talk about it, and then from there, we go on to other things. But does that lens, affect everything I'm talking about? 100% yes.
Mm-hmm.
Much like anyone who's talking about anything. Like,
right.
Dave Chappelle, Chris Rock, those guys are not talking about anything without the lens of being an African-American male, period.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so, and, or just anyone. So, but I think it's interesting, people wonder, because I've certainly been, I just did a show in Boston for like this law group, a women's law group, and they sent me a letter before being like, we just want to make sure that you understand that there's going to be like lawyers and all kinds of different people, and it's like, I'm not a fucking idiot. You know what I mean? Like, I understand that there's lots of different people, you know, and people aren't. It's just an interesting thing that I don't know that I think when you're a certain when people think you or categorize you as a certain thing that people find edgy, even if it's just you being alive, and there becomes a thing of, we need to make sure that their whole thing just isn't about that. Like, but that's my life. That's me. My whole thing is about that in a weird way, or not weird, but in a way. Everyone's thing is about their thing. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, you would never say to a guy, well, I hope he doesn't just talk about being a guy, doing guy stuff, or whatever. Like, that's very specific to, that's a particular thing that happens, certainly with gays and definitely with women. But that's happened to me before, too. I did a show in Fort Wayne, Indiana, and, I mean, and what's funny, too, is that they know when they book you who and what you are, but then all of a sudden they start to stress out. So then it was like a formal letter saying, like, you need to understand that there's more churches per capita and square inch than there are people, and we're a conservative area, so blah, 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 and it's just like, God, you have less constraints going into a kindergarten class. You know what I mean?
Well, what did they expect you to do?
Exactly. What do they expect me to do? But I don't really know. And I don't really know, and no one really comes out and says what they don't want you to talk about, really. Mm-hmm. Just, you know what I mean? Because I think they could probably, especially if they put it in writing, because they could probably get sued. But, or they'll have, like, a friend of somebody of the thing to call and be like, you know, they just want to make sure that you understand that, like, you know, the whole thing can't really be gay or, you know, just to, like, mix it up and not too dirty and don't swear too much. And it's just sort of like, okay, like, why do you even have comedy, really? Why don't you get an inspirational lecturer? I don't really understand what you want.
Right. Well, there's also that, there was a piece in a video piece from Vice that's been floating around recently that Chris Fleming was in, and they talked to college bookers, and they talked about the whole issue of censorship or millennials being too sensitive at colleges when they book. What's your experience with that, with playing colleges?
Oh my God, colleges are the worst. They are just the worst. Not that I still wouldn't do it, because I would, but it's so hard. I don't know how I don't know how the professors do it. I don't know how they do it. What was the last college I performed at? I probably disassociated it because I can't remember. But I definitely remember doing Wellesley College a couple of years ago and it being life-changing. Like, the pronouns and everyone's so triggered by everything, and everyone's feelings are so important, and if you make fun of something or something that somebody cares about, you're bullying them, and just these words that keep being thrown around, trigger words, safe space, bullying, you know, it's like, it's insufferable. Mm-hmm. They're insufferable. They're insufferable. They really are. Like, it's been a while since have even done a college. I think that and I don't know from a college perspective if they're having trouble booking comedians or even having or wanting comedy. I don't know. Because it's been a while since I've been booked at one, and I used to do them quite a bit. So, and I used to do them through the gay groups or through, like, gay Jewish groups or something like that. So those groups at least are a little more open, but they're not, they're closed. Everyone's, you know, when you become so progressive, you're conservative, it's like that kind of feeling. Where that's the one issue I really do agree with, like, Milo Yiannopoulos and these people, where it's like, if you book someone to speak or do comedy or whatever, you have to allow them to say whatever it is that they want to say. If you don't like it, don't go. If you don't like it, leave. If you don't like it, you know, do your own show. I don't know. Do something. But you don't censor other people. That, to me, is like the lowest form of the low.
People have brought up the idea, though, that why should it be like any other corporate gig? If you take the gig and they put restrictions on it, well, if you do other corporate gigs like that, why should colleges be any different?
I guess even with corporate gigs, though, and I haven't done many of those, obviously, that, and I guess it was similar with this thing with the lawyers, where they were like, you know, you can't be too sexual in this corporate environment because it'll be like a #MeToo situation or whatever. But I understand that you need to have boundaries in some ways since they're students, but at the same time, it is not a corporation, and you don't have HR rules. Like, you don't have, you know, it's a college, and I guess they have some codes of conduct, I suppose. I guess you have to, like, deal with the code of conduct, but are they saying then that the codes of conduct in colleges now are what exactly? It's too confusing. It's like you can't talk about what exactly. I guess you can't. They must make a rule where you can't make jokes. I mean, I don't know. That's a hard thing to follow, I think.
Yeah, at the same time, you know, I don't want anybody to have to deal with a heckler but.
Oh God, no! Right.
Yeah, so I don't want anybody standing up and yelling "you're wrong" and starting a political argument with a comedian. On the other hand, sometimes they are just calling a performer out on their bullshit. Do you see that situation? Do you see any merit in that?
I think that if you're in a situation, I think that first of all, college students are young, entitled kids, and it's a hard situation to police or to whatever, you know, young kids. Kids are fucking annoying, and they're assholes because they think they know everything and they have no, like, respect for, I don't want to say authority because I don't either. I understand that. I don't like authority. I don't like people telling me what to do. So in a way, I completely understand them. However, there has to be a respect for other people's opinions when you don't like them. That is your responsibility that you don't like those people's opinions. Now, if we're, let's say, Milo Yiannopoulos, that guy gives a lecture and then does a Q&A. So during a Q&A, do all you want. Get in a fight.
Right.
Get in a debate. That's what that's for. There's an interactive element to it. So get into it. I'm all for that. Debate, fight. But during someone's show where it's not interactive and it's solo and it's a monologue or it's whatever, and you want to get up and call someone out because you don't like it, I think that's disrespectful and I think it's inappropriate and I think you have to wait. I would never get up during somebody's show and yell out something. Even if I can't stand half the shit that I see. I would never. Can you imagine? Oh my God.
Well, I've seen it happen.
Nightmare.
It seems to never really end well for the person who stands up and opens their mouth.
No, it doesn't. It just is terrible for everyone. It ruins the thing. And even if, let's say, an entire audience did not like what they were hearing, you have to be able to... I think that there's something to be said for handling your outrage, and handling your offended feeling, or handling yourself. And I think that's missing. Like, as a comedian, we get up, that's our platform, that's our pulpit. We've been paid to do that. That's the appropriate place that we have to do that. And the audience, okay, this could be a heckler, there could be someone yelling something out here and there, but when somebody doesn't allow someone to finish or spends the whole time getting the attention for their own self, that person to me that's wrong. Beyond whatever anyone's saying, and I don't even care what anybody's saying. I mean, unless, like, a person's getting up there and shooting someone else in the head or doing something that we all as a society have already agreed is, like, an actually wrong thing to do.
Yeah,
but has that ever happened? No, that's not happening. I don't know. Even Milo, like, that guy that guy, if he's getting paid to go speak, he gets to go and speak.
Uh-huh.
Sorry. Like, you like it or not. That's life. That's how life works.
Do you think that handling hecklers is a necessary skill that every comedian should have?
I definitely think handling hecklers is a necessary skill. I think that, and I wonder, and it's a question I would ask other comedians who've been doing it a while, like if you, like I think at the beginning you're like, I gotta make this funny, and I gotta like, it's good. I'm gonna, you come out the bigger person and you're gonna make it funny and blah, blah, blah. But sometimes, and after a while, like, I'm just irritated. Like, I just, I'm like, don't even want to, there have to be times where people have felt like this too, where it's just, I know I felt, or I'm like, just like, ugh, just shut up. I don't even care about being funny right now. I just want you to go die. Like, I can't, I can't, you know what I mean? Like, I just, they're so annoying. And sometimes people heckle and aren't even being mean. They like love you, and they just want to like be in the conversation. They might even be worse.
Because they throw the timing off more.
Oh my God! Then the timing, and maybe they know a joke, or maybe they want to like, and you're like, and your whole shit's blown out. Like, they're the worst. I think they're the worst.
I've seen the attitude that a few years back when people were heckling Dave Chappelle, when that sort of blew up. I heard a lot of people say, you're not really a comedian if you can't handle the hecklers. He should have been able to handle the hecklers as a professional comedian. And all of the blame suddenly got turned back to Chappelle. I'm like, well, wait a minute. What about we're not blaming the 100 assholes who were screaming. It's Chappelle's fault for trying to be rational with them?
Right. No, I agree. That's so stupid. That's just like but the leaks are wrong. The leaks out of the administration. It's like,
yes.
Trump killed 52 people. Can you believe they leaked that? The leaks. And it's like, who cares about the leaks? That's it. Exactly. Hecklers are fucking annoying. You're terrible people. If you do it, you have to check yourself. Like, it's not my job to turn your needy, self-aggrandizing, pathetic attempt at attention into rolling into my show and making it my responsibility. You're just an asshole. Sometimes we're just tired of the fucking assholes. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. Know what I mean?
Right.
And yeah, exactly, Dave Chappelle. That's right. It isn't his responsibility. It's just like, God.
Well, and he tries to reason with them, and that was the thing that people were critiquing, that he should have just put them down. And
well, sometimes I think he's also, just as far as that goes, and it seems like to me from how he's just gone with his whole thing, is he's a sensitive guy, I guess, and he can't really deal with, he doesn't seem to be he just seems to be pretty sensitive. And if his way of, he takes that personally, or, this doing stand-up is personal. People like, you can't take it personally, you can't, well, it is personal, because it's just me, and I'm talking, and now you are yelling at me. So that is that's personal. So some people wouldn't agree with that, but, and if some people can't, or they take that and they internalize it, or they want to, like, reason with someone, or they want to speak to somebody on a human level, like, I think that's okay. It probably won't work, but, I mean, somebody's drunk and they just don't care. I don't think when people are heckling or yelling out, they even see you as a human being. I mean, really.
I saw him do a show a few weeks after the U.S. had gone back to Afghanistan, I think it was. And he had somebody in like the 6th or 7th row back somewhere was heckling him. And he stopped the show and sort of leaned down to the stage of the person and said, "Excuse me, what were you saying?" To get them to say it out loud. And people started booing the person who was heckling. And he shushed the crowd and said, no, I want to hear what they had to say. And the person yelled out, sort of sputtered, I heard everything that you had to say. It's like he said, and he had just done maybe, I don't know what it was, maybe 20, 25 minutes on the last 2 weeks of the news. And he's like, you heard all the stuff I just did about the last 2 weeks in the news? Like, how did you? It didn't even make any sense. And
Right.
at one point, he pulled out his wallet and he got $5 out and he held it out to the guy and said, "Look, I want you to leave here and go to the video store and get something you'd prefer to watch, because you obviously don't want to be here." And by that point, the audience was booing the heckler so much that I think it was 2 or 3 policemen came and hauled the guy out on their shoulders.
Wow. Whoa. Wow.
To a cheering crowd, and Chappelle was trying to stop them from taking the guy out.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, no, I don't. He didn't want it to end that way. I think he's trying to reason. I think he looks at it like an alien who's come here and offered technology to save the human race, and when we decide to shoot each other with it, and then he just sort of stands back and doesn't know what's happening.
Yeah, and also I do think that he's Dave Chappelle must be, and I don't know him. This is really just me theorizing from me, whatever. As a sensitive person and also being a black person, he doesn't want to see someone carried out by police. I'm quite sure, and that must be disturbing to him. And I would think that he wants a free dialogue, and he doesn't want to censor people, but at the same time, he's trying to reach people on a human level and come to some sort of understanding. I mean, and I don't think he's a saint, and I don't think he has the best, I don't agree with all of his shit, and I think some of his shit's super sexist and gross. But but as a person and a comedian, he's trying to find understanding and truth and justice, and I think there's really nothing more that you can ask for than that, you know?
Yeah.
So the fact that he didn't want that guy to be carried out is a testament to that, I think.
I think that's sort of emblematic of our communication problems, sort of writ large. We're yelling at each other, and we don't have that.
Right.
We're not trying to understand each other. We're trying to win.
Yes, trying to win. And I think on both sides, what you end up with, and it's just like what's happening in colleges, where you're asking for understanding, but you're not giving any. And so, and I think that's a problem. So, for example, if I come out, I come out to my parents and they don't accept me right away, all of a sudden they're the enemy now. I'm an enemy to them, they're an enemy to me. But if we had a give and take of understanding, I would understand, they need a minute. They need a minute. And maybe they'll never come around, but you have to give someone a minute. You have to give someone some space. You have to give someone their moment to understand.
Mm-hmm.
Just in the same manner that you're asking for their understanding.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lack of that for sure right now.
And this is where dumb gay politics comes into it.
That's right. That's right. We're perfect. Yes. I mean, I'm guilty of it too. Now with dumb gay politics, I have Brandy, thank God, who is rational, and she tries to, understand all sides for the most part. I mean, some sides you obviously just can't. There's no understanding. There is just flat out. It's just shocking. But I've learned a lot from doing this podcast, and certainly from her, and just trying to be more understanding. Now with Dumb Gay Politics, we're looking at politics from a comedy point of view. We're not journalists, we're not researchers, we're not Rachel Maddow scholars. We're assholes who sit around and drink and do a lot of drugs. But we're trying. And we're trying to also impart information to people who hate watching the news, feel hopeless, whatever side you're on or whatever. And granted, we do bend liberal, but a lot of people have told us that it was sort of like The Daily Show, not to compare us to The Daily Show, but that a lot of people would end up getting their actual news from The Daily Show. Jon Stewart turned out to be the most trustworthy newscaster for a while. And we're hearing from people who just can't deal with the news and with politics, and who feel like maybe they don't know enough. They feel dumb. They feel they can't speak on subjects or whatever. And we try and really speak to those people the most, because that's how we feel.
It's a hard balance, because you want to understand, you want to feel like you're understanding. You don't want to talk from a place of ignorance, but also people are trying to make you feel that way in order to take you out of the conversation. That's right. So it's hard to...
That's right, totally, for sure. And we just want to urge people that no matter how much we understand, especially now, I think that politics and this time is definitely very emotional, and people are coming at it from, we're more than anything else, this sort of culture war environment that we're in, and weaponizing patriotism, and it's very it's like black and white. It's conservative versus liberal, right or wrong. But we're trying to make it so that anyone can speak on anything, because ultimately, at the end of the day, you have a right to speak about anything you want. I mean, we're not doctors. You're not talking about medicine.
Well, you have a right to speak about whatever you want. But is exercising that right always the right thing to do? Is there something that you need to earn the
right? Well, I think if
your
you're giving
opinion.
actual information, yes, you need to do some research.
But
if but some things are your gut, I think, and I think it's okay to say, like, if you're coming at the very beginning at something and you're like, I don't know, I just saw that lady speak and I just didn't like her. And you're like, okay, well, why didn't you like her? Well, just her outfit, or like, literally, this is how basic it can get. And you're like, okay, but here's some facts, and let's maybe talk about those. And just try and, rather than be like, well, you're a fucking idiot because you don't like someone because of their stupid outfit. You know what I mean? You want to, like...
Well, we're also pretending that's new, and I'm pretty sure in the Lincoln Douglas debates, probably at some point Lincoln probably took some shit for having a stupid hat.
Probably did, and he had a weird face and had a weird disease or whatever. But yeah, he's tall, he's too tall, and his face is long. I'm sure a lot of people felt like that. And I mean, if that's what makes you feel weird, okay. But, that's what I'm saying, even with just, giving and taking understanding. It's I think there has to be something with, okay, I think this person looks weird, and sometimes when someone looks weird, they're going to be weird, but let me try and be a little better than that, or let me try and be more open than that.
Hey, this person who looks weird actually is kind of normal.
Yeah, exactly. So then you get into a thing where you're like, oh, wait a minute. Old Longface had some good things to say. Okay.
Yeah.
You can... And we're going to interview Anthony Scaramucci on Friday.
Oh, nice.
And I'm, beside myself, because this is going to be the first person that we really had that's, that has been in it, honey. In it. But I don't want to fight with him. I don't... He's a person who, there's plenty of people I could fight with, and I have no problem with it. If Mike Pence called up, I would fucking never stop trying to rip him a new asshole. However, this guy, I don't know, it just seems like I want to like him. I really want to like him. I don't want to fight with him. I want to like him. I want to have that feeling, that understanding with him. But we'll see. I'm excited. I'm nervous. I'm excited, though.
Are you sure it's just not Mario Cantone and he's been pulling a fast one on you?
I know. Can you imagine if it was? It was Mario Cantone calling. I met him on a plane, and I asked him to come on the podcast, and he would, and he said yes. And I told him, I was like, hey, listen, man, I actually enjoy watching you on TV. I wish that you'd be back. And he was like, oh, man, really? Me? I said, yeah. All those other losers are just not as exciting as you. And he was like, "Oh my God, thank you so much. I never thought someone like you would even speak to would speak to me." I was like, "What, a big lesbian's never come up to you before?" And he's like, "No, no." And he's like, "People don't understand. I have love for everyone." And he feels, and it's whatever. And he went on this whole thing, and he feels misunderstood, and blah 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 blah. And I just thought it was nice. I can't explain it. Like, he was shocked that I would talk to him, and I was shocked that he felt misunderstood. So it's like, oh, look at us building bridges.
It's a feel good kind of story, but it can feel hard to trust as well. And like, is this? Yes, we can sort of say we're getting along, and that happens in Congress all the time. You know, two people on opposite sides of the aisle will shake hands,
right.
But then there's not really an understanding there. It's just kind of a
Well, we'll see. Well, we'll see. I don't know. You know what I mean? I don't know, but I know that I'm going into it with more of an open mind than I would of somebody who I know for a fact would see me on a table, like on The Handmaid's Tale, fucking cutting my clit off and telling me I'm a gender traitor. So, yeah, I know. I just don't get that from him. However, I could be wrong. He will find out that he is like that. So we'll see. I don't know. I'm trying.
Well, on the other hand, you've talked about sometimes maybe not being what a gay audience would expect, or offending a gay and lesbian.
True. Mm-hmm. That's true too. I get in trouble from everyone. So yes, I think people don't expect, and not to get into the nuts and bolts of it, but I get in trouble. I do. I'm not a person in general who's sensitive or precious about words, or at least to me, it's like pronouns and identity and all that shit is, and maybe because I am so deep in the game with that, like it's annoying to me. So if I get into that and make jokes about it, it really pushes people's buttons. And even talking about, like, my identity and lesbian stuff, and people look at me because I look a certain way, they think a certain thing of me, and I'm not really what they think I'm going to be, and so people are confused, or they just didn't expect it. But the people who get offended definitely don't like to hear. I think it's just that same, like, it's just like a sensitivity or something. I don't really get it. So I used to make fun of just the word lesbian. I would think, like, God, that word is so gross. I hate it. So medical. It just sounds like a speculum in a vagina. Like, that's not sexy. And people would be so mad. They'd be so mad. We fought, marched so we could be lesbians, and you can't make fun of it. And it was like, I'm not. I mean, I don't know what to say. Like, I just don't feel that way. Like, I want to control it. I'm in charge of it. I have the power, not the word, not you. So that's what I just, it's like, yeah.
Well, you did giggle a little bit when last we spoke, and I was talking about the LGBTQ showcase that you were on.
Yes. Yes.
And I was maybe pausing at a letter or two.
Yeah, because it's LGBTQIAA.
Okay.
I think that's the technical actual currently, though there might be more letters now. I don't know. And yeah, there's a way to. I mean, at this point, it's just the alphabet, and it's everyone. It's like, I don't even know why we. You know what I mean? We're at the point where literally everyone. It should be in the rainbow, because I think everyone is. I mean, what are we talking about here? Just everyone but straight people? So it doesn't make any sense. Like,
well, as per your comment,
every identity, everyone wants to be in it. Somebody, they just put in, so questioning is in it. LGBTQIAA, I think. Questioning is an identity. Questioning. Why? I don't understand. That at that point, that's everyone. That's everyone. We're all questioning.
Well, as per your comment earlier, I feel as a straight white guy, I might need a minute.
Oh, you're screwed. Yeah, exactly. You need a minute. That's right. I mean, woof. Yeah. Oh, God. I mean, that it just
Look,
the
it's
showcase. Sorry. Go ahead.
it's all sort of fraught because I could say I need a minute, and then the straight white guy next to me says, "Yeah, why are there gay people?" Like, no, that's not the group I'm in. No, I need to figure out what's going on. I'm not with him.
Right. Yeah, that's why it's hard for I think for straight guys in general, not just white. I think just straight guys.
Uh-huh.
Like getting lumped in. It's tough. It's tough when you're like a good straight guy because there's some problems. Problems right now. So,
Yes.
oof. You got a hard road ahead of you.
Yeah. Well, our team needs some coaching up. That's
Your team needs like a weekend. The team needs a weekend to get it. Maybe like some trust exercises, a little drum circling, some sort of something. Bring the group back together.
We need
a conclave.
Yes, we need mini camp.
People out.
We need to run some drills.
Yeah, some drills.
And figure some things out.
Exactly.
I wanted to go back to your background as you started out in Boston, and you were a theater kid before you did comedy, right? When did that interest start?
So, as long as I can remember, I was doing theater. I was always involved with like school theater and all that stuff ever since I was like in like kindergarten, first grade, and it just never stopped.
Uh-huh.
Like elementary school, junior high, and then I went to Hebrew school for my whole life. So then I got into improv in Hebrew school, and then would like do that. Then Tony V and Mike Bent, Boy Scientist, came to a Jewish youth group convention, did stand up. I saw them. My mind was blown. I went up to them after. I asked them how you do it. Tony V said, "Come to the Comedy Connection. I'll put you up." So I did, and then I just never stopped. So I always, since I was a freshman in high school, started doing stand-up, and then pursued theater. Went to Emerson. I did sketch comedy from the first year I went in there, so I was doing sketch and stand-up, and then would continue to do theater through Emerson, and then just continue to pursue it. So it's really been like just my whole life.
You said it's frequently cited that you started at 15, but I think you said you may have started even a little bit earlier than that, right?
I think I may have started earlier than that. I think I was a freshman in high school.
Mm-hmm.
But it's hard to, I can't remember. I think I was a freshman in high school.
And you couldn't have found two better people to start with than Tony V and Mike Bent.
And Tony V was so nice and was so helpful, and he was like everything to me, And the Comedy Connection was so exciting, and that smell, I'll never forget that smell, and even now going into a comedy club, it's like that. I get that sensation, that comedy club.
Where was the connection at that point? Was it at Faneuil Hall?
No, it was.
Oh, still okay.
It was like at the Charles Playhouse or something like that.
Still back in the Charles Playhouse in the theater district there. Yeah.
Yeah,
and that was not the most female-friendly time in Boston comedy history, from everything people tell me.
Apparently so. No, I think it seems to be getting better now. And lots of great. And it's funny how Boston just is such a huge comedy oven. I mean, just so many comics coming out of Boston, and a lot of women ones too, I guess too. Yeah.
What were you talking?
So
about?
I didn't. What did I talk about in high school? I remember talking about my teachers.
Uh-huh.
Literally math class and riding in the station wagon with my siblings and just stupid shit, just kid shit. And I would do voices or try and do fake commercials.
You said you used to reenact Mel Brooks movies for the family.
Oh yeah, I would do that for my family. I still do it. I think I still do it.
Uh-huh.
History of the World Part 1, was probably the, like, most important movie of my, like, coming up. And then High Anxiety and Young Frankenstein and Blazing Saddles, but I watched History of the World Part 1 before I watched Blazing Saddles. And that shit was life to me. That was life.
That's such
literally living.
That's such an underrated movie in his canon.
Yeah, and I don't, and not one that many people really talk about or know, but I mean, all the heavy hitters are in it. It's got, oh God, I mean, the Spanish Inquisition, I think I've seen 5,000 times.
Yes. The Inquisition, what a show.
Yeah, what a show. The Inquisition, here we go. We know you're wishing, now we go. I mean, his Jewish shit is the best. His gay shit is the best. He was I think I didn't realize it. I didn't understand at the time, but now looking back on it, it was like he was the most female-friendly, the most gay-friendly. The Jewish humor was off the hook. He was inappropriate. He was so ahead of his time, so smart. And that guy is like, he reads like Chaucer and shit. Mel Brooks is a genius. He's so thoughtful and he's so smart. And you know, people think these movies and he's whatever. He's like, no, he's brilliant. Oh my God. And then I found the 2,000-year-old man, the 2013-year-old man, and I was like, what the fuck? And
Carl Reiner is great as well. I love Carl Reiner.
Me too. And the two of them together? Oh my God, heaven.
Well, they still get together and watch TV.
I know. I love that about them so much. Oh, I love that. I'm so glad they're still friends. They have each other. It's so cute.
Well, it's one of those things where you can watch the news and you can see, you know, all right, nuclear war, sexual harassment, everything else that's going on. Then you can just sort of step back and go, yeah, but Carl Reiner and Mel Brooks, and go, all right.
Exactly. I mean, I hope that it's like they're boyfriends, and I want them to have each other, and I don't want either of them to die before the other one. I want them to go together. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I need them to go together because their love is the truest love that ever was. I just love them so much, and they're in their 90s. They don't have that much time left, and I just think it's like George Bush is going to die soon because his, Barbara died, and he's not going to last. And I just know that they must be keeping each other alive.
Like Johnny and June.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I know they have families. They have big families. But that kind of connection, though, is like, I mean, that's like what they have is literally like true love. I don't know how else to say it. That's like.
You can hope that when you're in your 90s, there's still somebody in your life that you've known since you were in your 30s.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. That you sit and you just watch TV with. And then they're cracking jokes and they're taking the shit and piss out of each other and what's on TV, and I know I have to believe that they're also just making fun of each other for being old. Like they're just, they have to be. Like they just make each other so happy. I just love it.
What do you think about the French Mistake in Blazing Saddles?
Which, the what?
The French Mistake, the sort of musical number at the end of Blazing Saddles. That's something.
I'm trying to. What's the musical number at the end of Blazing Saddles?
Where they're breaking through all of the different walls
that's
and they wind up.
That's right. That's
Dom
right.
DeLuise.
They go in the orchestra and the thing, and they go into set and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
I mean, he loves doing that. That's not. I don't love that, but he did invent that. I do,
Well, I mean,
I can't.
It was all of the gay men at the end in the musical number that didn't seem to be.
They're doing, and Dom DeLuise. I mean, the gayest of all the gays, even though he apparently wasn't gay. Dom DeLuise, fucking also amazing. But like, I think it's funny. I think it's funny. I think and the reason why I think it's funny, not only is it just because it's funny, but I know that Mel Brooks is on the page. Mel Brooks is on the right side of the law, and Mel Brooks is on the page. Mel Brooks understands what's funny about gays, why it's funny, and he's not making them like, he doesn't demean them.
Uh-huh.
Which is why, to me, it remains funny, and I think he does that with women too. And but he said in an interview, or maybe no, he said, is it from the producers, where he was like, without faggots and Jews, there's no comedy.
Oh, I don't know. I can't remember that line.
I think he either said it in an interview, it's from a movie, where it's like, without fags and Jews, there's no comedy. And it's like, you know what, Mel, you're right. That's right, because he's. You know, it's not he gets it. He gets it. Well, and anyone who's offended by that just doesn't get it.
People say that you couldn't make Blazing Saddles today, that people would be too offended. But Mel Brooks came to Boston a couple years back with that movie and filled the Wang Theater. I think it's maybe 3,000 people. I'll have to check. I might be wrong on that, but it was a sold-out show for a movie that was made in the 70s.
Yeah.
A sold-out show in a theater, and everybody seemed to be enjoying themselves, buying Mel Brooks the T-shirt, which I also couldn't resist picking up.
Oh my God, I cannot believe I haven't seen him live. I'm dying. I'm dying to see him live. Ugh, so jealous of you.
It was a great night. He does it every once in a while. I think he's doing it with Spaceballs now.
He's doing it. I saw that he's doing it, but he's doing it. He's also in London because they just launched Young Frankenstein the musical.
Yeah.
And obviously I can't go to London, but I'm like, why are you going to be here? I will go anywhere he's in the United States next. I'm going. I need to be in the same room with him before he dies and I die. I'll probably die before him.
To go back to your early days as a comic, I'll always I'll always go on a tangent talking about Mel Brooks and Carl Reiner. That'll always.
I mean, how can you not? Like the 2,000-year-old man. Like, did you believe in God? Yeah. Oh, what did you call him? Oh, Phil. Phil. I mean, that's everything. I can't even. You know what? I'm going to listen to that today. Thank you for reminding me.
You're very welcome.
But
go ahead.
You had a question.
Yeah, well, going back to your early days, when did you start to form into who you would be as a comedian? When did you start to sort of feel this is who I am as a comic?
After I came out. So I think when I was doing stand-up, I did this. There was a college comedy competition when my freshman year of college. I won it. And then there was this weird time where I was like kind of like not out. I didn't really and I was doing and then I came out, and then there was just a weird transitionary time, and I went back to Nick's totally bombed, and I realized it was like, oh, I have to fucking get to know myself again. And after that, then I was like, okay, I got it. So where it was just so free. I was just free. I was free. I finally understood my shit, and then granted, I mean, I'm in my 20s, so I don't actually know anything, but I'm more so, and it was very freeing, and it helped a lot, and that really did inform who I then would become in stand-up, and that was it. So, and I think I've been, I think as a comic, you're constantly figuring it out, but that was really the foundation. And after doing it for so long, I'm just sort of like feel pretty grounded and confident, and
But there are always other levels you could be looking at.
Yeah. Well, certainly there's other levels, and I also wonder, like, God, why am I still also not making more money, or why am I not passed at the Comedy Cellar, or why am I've been doing this for 40,000 years. This is weird. But then you just. It is what it is. It is what it is. And, I just keep trying to just work on the material, keep doing stand-up. It's the only thing not the only thing, but performing is what I love to do. There's nothing else I would do. I have no other skills, so I just got to keep going,
It seems like a constant cycle of relief and agitation. Like, I've achieved...
Of course that's what it is. Exactly. That's exactly what it is. It's relief and agitation. That's the perfect name for a book for a comedian's life. Relief and agitation. Exactly.
Like, I've gotten to this level. Why aren't I at the next level? And
Exactly.
it's a constant
Yep.
cycle of that.
Yep, that's it. That's exactly what it is. And, like, the highs, the lows, just all of it. It's a weird lifestyle. It's so weird. About lifestyle. People are always like, oh, the gay lifestyle. It's like, gay lifestyle is nothing compared to a comedian's lifestyle. Are you kidding? Like, God, crazy. Please. Easy.
When did the music come in? When did you start playing guitar on stage? Was it?
I started that. My friend Jason Blanche, who I was collaborating with quite a bit in my 20s, and then when I got into New York, he said I should do it, and I should do it as a character. So I started doing it as a character named Indigo Etheridge, lesbian folk rock sensation, and then I just sort of stopped doing the character because it was too much work. So because I wanted to do like a band and a thing, and I had it, and for like a year I'd like had a rock band, and it was like a whole thing, and with like an album of songs. But it's expensive having a band, and I just couldn't deal with it, and so I stopped that, and then I just started putting the guitar in as my own self, and it became so much easier. And that was it. So now I'm feeling like I want to learn how to play the piano and kind of do like that. That might be fun. To do songs that are like where you're sitting at a piano like Billy Joel. And just like for a new thing to do.
Would you do non-comedy songs?
No, I would do comedy songs, but I would just do them with the piano.
Now, I had a strange note here that I can't remember. I can't find where I sourced it. But I have the words met Sandra Bernhard on J-Date.
I don't know. I definitely did not meet Sandra Bernhard on J-Date.
I don't know where that comes from. That was...
That's weird. I don't know, but I did meet her. Like we did, Brandy and I did her show, her serious show, to promote the podcast. But I didn't stand up with her? No. Yes. Oh my God. Yeah, she hosted the thing at Live at Gotham. Yeah, she hosted the thing at Live at Gotham. That's right.
Oh, that's where you met.
That's where we met. Yep. And then we did her show. Yeah. So she hosted when I did Live at Gotham. She hosted it, which was exciting for me because I had never met her before, and I'm a fan of hers, and and it was just funny because she introduced me as like the big dyke in the room, and I was like, oh, Sandra Bernhard sees me. Like I was like excited.
So just sort of to end up, what are you up to next? What should people look for? And when does the Scaramucci podcast come out?
So the Scaramucci, we are interviewing him Friday, which means that Tuesday. So that'll come out Tuesday.
Okay. And today is, just to note, the 30th of May, so Tuesday.
So Tuesday. Yeah, Tuesday. Right?
June 5th is when it should come out.
We're very excited about that. So that'll be Look for the Mooch. Yep.
And what else should people look for?
Oh, yeah. I guess just follow me on Instagram or Twitter at Mr. Julie Goldman. You can find out all my stand-up dates. I'm going to be traveling throughout the summer, so just to look and see when you can come see me live and download the podcast, Dumb Gay Politics. That's pretty much what's going on now, right? Because there's nothing else. Yeah, that's it.
Well, thanks for doing the podcast. I appreciate it.
Of course. Thank you. I appreciate you, and I'm sure I'll see you in the Boston area soon.
An arrow through the head isn't always a trick.
Thanks again to Julie Goldman for the excellent conversation. You can find her on Twitter at Mr. Julie Goldman and on Facebook at The Julie Goldman. And you can find the Dumb Gay Politics podcast at acast.com/dumbgaypolitics. Go check out the episode with Anthony Scaramucci. And if you liked this episode of the Department of Tangents podcast, please consider subscribing and or leaving a rating or review on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, or wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks to all who have done so far. And onto our featured track, which is Feathered Indians from Tyler Childers from his album Purgatory. That was released in August of last year and was produced, appropriately enough, by David Ferguson and Sturgill Simpson. I say appropriately enough because Childers is establishing himself as part of this group of contemporary Americana singer-songwriter band leaders that can punch you in the gut and still feed your head, of which Simpson is a standard bearer along with Jason Isbell and a few others. Childers' writing is raw and vital, and the wail and moan in his voice draws a straight line back to his most passionate bluegrass and country forebears. He's on tour through most of the rest of the year, and you can find out dates and music at tylerchildersmusic.com. This is Feathered Indians from the album Purgatory.
Well, my buckle makes impressions on the inside of her thigh. There are little feathered Indians where we tussle through the night. If I'd known she was religious, then I wouldn't have came stoned to the house of such an angel, too fucked up to get back home. Looking over West Virginia, smoking spirits on the roof, she asked, ain't anybody told you that them things are bad for you? I said, many folks have warned me, there's been several people try, but up till now there ain't been nothing that I couldn't leave behind. Hold me close, my dear, sing your whispering song softly in my ear, and I will sing along. Honey, tell me how your love runs true, and how I can always count on you. Be there when the bullets fly. I'd run across the river just to hold you tonight. Well, my heart is sweating bullets from the circles it has raced, like a little feathered Indian calling out the clouds for rain. I go running through the thicket, I go careless through the thorns, just to hold her for a minute, though it leave me wanting more. Hold me close, my dear, sing your whispering song softly in my ear, and I will sing along. Honey, tell me how your love runs true, and how I can always count on you to be there when the bullets fly. I'd run across the river just to hold you tonight.
Neil Young.